Welcome to Spotlight Gulf Coast, a weekly showcase of people and events across South Mississippi. Spotlight Gulf Coast is partnered with William Carey University and sponsored by the IP Casino Resort and Spa, Mississippi Power Company, and Butch Ostelet Autoplex.
Hi everyone, this is Todd Trenchard, Executive Director of the Baco Foundation of South Mississippi, welcoming you to another segment of Spotlight Gulf Coast right here on WXXV. Each week we're coming into your living room talking about what's going on all across South Mississippi, and we want to thank our sponsors for this generous opportunity. Today we're real privileged to have Mr. Jonathan Jones, who's the General Manager of Harrah's here on the Gulf Coast. And Jonathan, I think I met you formally. It's only been a couple months, and I was just blown away. First of all, you're much younger than I thought. Just turning what, 41?
No, 44 now.
44 now, and you've accomplished so much. And I walked away just shaking my head, and I think that's sort of indicative of where the workforce is going. People get more serious about their careers at a younger age, and you've done a fantastic job. We want to get to know a little bit about Harrah's, but a little bit about you. So tell us a little bit about you to get this going.
Yeah, sure. And I'm flattered to hear you think I'm young. I feel like I have been in this role for quite a while. I grew up in New Orleans, not far from here. I went to Ole Miss, kind of worked my way through college, doing a variety of different things. But I graduated and was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I took a couple sales jobs and still hadn't figured it out. Went back to school to get a master's degree. And somewhere in the middle of the first year of a 2-year program, the company that I work for now came and gave a presentation, and it struck me as something that was interesting. I interviewed and did so successfully, and was offered a position in a town called Laughlin, Nevada, or as they say out there, and as you know, Nevada, which I never really got used to. But did an internship out there. It was hot, but I learned a lot, and ended up moving to Las Vegas back in 2005. So that's kind of when I started in the business. Lived in Las Vegas for a little bit, then had an opportunity to come back to the Gulf Coast after Katrina and help the New Orleans and Biloxi properties reopen. Did that in a marketing role, then moved to New Orleans, was in a finance role, moved to St. Louis, did some marketing and process improvement work, moved to Southern Indiana and really focused in on operations, and then moved down here back to the Gulf Coast over 10 years ago now, and have been in this role for quite a while, and have seen a lot of change and a lot of positive change, but a lot of good things going, and still have a lot of work to do left. So happy being here.
You sort of took a career path where you do whatever it took to learn all the different aspects of the business. And
yeah, definitely. I mean, in sales, I think the natural transition was into marketing. And so what, our gaming industry is known to be very rigorous and analytical when it comes to marketing, CRM and data science and lots of things that we can measure. So, what I think about the gaming industry is, for me, it's a perfect mix of dealing with people, whether it's your coworkers or your guests. There's a variety of things that can come up, being able to react to different situations, get along well with people of all different backgrounds. But on the other end, I am a closet nerd. I'm a data guy at heart, and I love analytics and that type of rigor. And the industry has more than you could ever get your arms around. So when it comes to the way we yield our hotels, the way we lay out our slot floors, all the marketing things that we do, there's never a dull moment. So that's why, 17, 18 years later, I'm still in this business and, still love it. It's
been a tremendous change. Obviously, after Katrina, I had to redo a lot of things. And I've said this, I don't know if on TV, but we were just talking about that's how the Baco McCarty Foundation at the time actually got involved, was with the old Grand Casino. Duncan McKenzie, first guy I met, Mickey Parrington, and offered to put on an event for us, and they were going to give us food. And I said, well, what's the catch? There wasn't. They just saw that it was for a good cause. And you started learning a little bit more about gaming, that it wasn't here just to take money or what people were saying. It was a part of your community, and they broke down those walls of what some people might have thought. And today, it's such an integral part of South Mississippi. I mean, the coast would not look anything like it looks today. And your particular property is just massive. I think it's only one on both sides. Well, maybe the island view on both sides, but it's a huge property that, again, you see the changes every time you go in there.
Yeah, and look, and I appreciate you recognizing what we do in the communities because, you know, you one could say that this is a fairly mature community. You know, we're about to celebrate 30 years, or we have celebrated 30 years of gaming in the state of Mississippi. But that work is never done. We understand our role in the community, and we understand how important it is to give back. But it's also critical as we go into new markets, which we've done and we will continue to do. You know, wasn't that long ago that Ohio legalized gaming, and we put casinos in the cities of Ohio. We just opened a temporary facility in Danville, Virginia, and that's a relatively needy community. And so our folks up there are lockstep partnered with the mayor and all the decision makers in that community to make sure that we aren't just going in there to make money. That's not what we do. I mean, we create experiences for our guests. Slightly more than half the people lose than win, but that's a lot of winners, and people have life-changing events in our properties, and they make great experiences, and so we provide that. But it is critical that we are partnered with the communities that we operate in, and we continue to do that, and we understand the work's not done. I mean, we have a lot more to do here on the Gulf Coast.
I want to do a whole next segment on that because I know how involved you are, you know, from the Humane Society, the Business Council, to you know, the Gulf Resort Classic. I mean, you've taken leadership roles in a major way. And again, your job is not a 30 or 40 hour week. So that's quite an undertaking, but it builds up a stronger coast. And I know when, I think it was Ricky Matthews, he said, you got to meet this guy. It's just like you, but he's a gaming institution. And that is very important. When you go into a room now, you might see 6 or 7 casino heads all in that room, and y'all communicate together.
We do, yeah. We get along. I mean, you know, this is a market where we all understand, you know, that we can't do it all just with the gaming industry, and we need to partner with key stakeholders throughout the community. It is rare, and I don't take for granted that we do get along and we talk, and when issues come up, we generally put our heads together, and we may not always agree on every single thing. That's normal. But we do work well together, and we work hard to, you know, bring new people in and make this a vibrant place to live and work.
Before we got just about a minute, and I'm sure you would agree that you're only as good as your employees, and you were bragging on your employees right before we came on.
Yeah.
Quite a few been there for quite a while.
Yeah, look, that's the biggest, you know, when people talk about what makes Harrah's Gulf Coast different, you know, our number one competitive advantage is our people. You know, I'm humbled and proud every single day of the people that I get to work with. And we've got about 100 that have been with us for over 25 years.
Wow.
So that's a lot of combined experience. That's a lot of relationships with our guests. That's some expertise there that I certainly will never take for granted. We try hard to reward them and exceed their expectations, but that's the number one thing I come to work every single day to do, is try to take care of those folks that I work with.
I'm not going to mention any names, but I was over at the IP the other day, and I had 2 that used to work at the Grand some 20 years ago that remember my name. They always beeline it up to me, and it's like family.
It is.
So we're going to take a short commercial break, and we're going to be right back. We're talking with Jonathan Jones. Sit down for a second. Welcome back, everyone. We're here with Jonathan Jones, who, of course, is General Manager of Harrah's here at Gulf Coast. And Jonathan, we started touching on this. You're involved with a lot of things in the local community, and I wanted to go through some of those because, you know, people may not see it. They see the benefit of it. You know, a great testimony. I happened to be in the Humane Society. A good friend of mine, Lori West, who used to work for me with hurricane recovery way back in the day, and she said, literally, you got in there and took it on as a project that, you know, really helped motivate the Humane Society and get to the level that it's at today. And let's talk a little bit about that, the Business Council, the Gulf Resort Classic, those type of things, why it's important.
Well, it's critical. I mean, look, this is, this is a community that is very giving, but it also has a lot of things that it's had to endure. And so it's needed to come together a lot. There's a lot of talent in this community. And so to the extent that I'm part of that, I need to give back and find things that, that I can dig into and really move the needle. You mentioned the Humane Society. That one started honestly because my wife and I have always had dogs, and my wife's pretty passionate about animal welfare, and so I got involved in the Humane Society. Well, it turns out it's a huge organization. It employs a lot of people. Animal welfare is a big deal across the Gulf Coast. I always joke with people, though, there's not a strong crossover. I didn't see one with what I do for a living. Animals don't gamble very much, right? But whenever I ask my coworkers what are the causes that they are the most passionate about, that one's always number one. There's a strong tie-in with the people that I work with. And so to the extent that I can represent something that they're passionate about and be involved with the Humane Society, I'm happy to do that. And it's a great organization, and it's in great hands. You mentioned Lori. I mean, I don't have to do a whole lot these days. There was a time before her arrival that needed a lot of attention. The Business Council is a great organization. It's in great hands now with Jamie Miller. It's been well led in the past, and those are some key players here in the business community on the Gulf Coast, and I'm honored to be, part of that group. And I think about the first Business Council meeting I went to when I first arrived on the Gulf Coast. I sat at a table and they asked, any new members, and I put my hand up, and at the table I was at, it was like, hey, I'm the guy that brings you Pepsi, and I'm the Mississippi Power guy. I'm your banker, and I think everybody will know who this one was. Somebody said, "I'm your beer man." So they were all right there in the room, and I got to know them super quick through our affiliation with the Business Council. The Mississippi Gulf Resort Foundation's been a great organization. Ever since back in the day of Anthony Topazzi, I didn't get to know him. We didn't overlap, but the mission of that foundation is simple, and it is to promote the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And so that is something that I try to do every single day at work. With Caesars, we're part of a huge database of guests, and we bring people in from all over the country. So real strong tie with that organization, and happy to still be involved with them as well. So, and there's lots of others that our executive team is also involved in, and then my coworkers get involved through the Hero program. So that's our volunteer arm at Harrah's.
I think that a lot of these organizations are good at what they do, but they're not supposed to be good at what we do as businessmen and things like that. I know I could tell with the Gulf Resort Classic and then Rapiscan, where it started taking on the Birdies for Charity, and all of a sudden this thing was giving out incredible sums of money. And back in the day, we were just trying to raise $5,000 when we got it going. You have a little junior clinic, and so we'd be a part of it. And then by the end, you had all these nonprofits that were benefiting from it. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you've got Steve running the organization. He doesn't have, the time, so he depends on that. And so, and the Business Council, how could you get anything better than that, and just get to meet some of these, coastal, people that have been here their whole lives, and they're all bringing this different sort of mindset to the table. Yeah,
and look, I would tell you, in the 10 plus years that I've been here, one of the areas that I've seen the most positive change is thinking about our region as a whole. I saw when I first moved here, even within Biloxi, there was East Biloxi and the rest of Biloxi, and I've seen really good progress coming from Las Vegas and St. Louis and Southern Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky. To me, it didn't make sense that you'd have one county or another county or one town versus another. And I've seen a lot of progress. All of these organizations that we mentioned, all of these nonprofit organizations have a regional kind of footprint and a regional membership, and have a regional impact. And for us as a destination, that's a big deal.
I know that while you're doing these things out in the community, you're also thinking of how you can improve the facility itself. At the Blind Tiger coming in across the street, that was a great addition down there on the beach, and been there quite a few times. Y'all have just gone through a big, renovation project, and that's an ongoing thing. I think I see with gaming, that you keep up with the standards that everybody else is. And it's almost like everybody raised the bar for the next one.
That's right. Well, that's one thing I'll say about this market is unlike some others, and I won't name names, but this is this is a competitive market from a capital reinvestment standpoint. And just like you said,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not reinvesting in the property, someone else across the street or down the way is. And so we all have done, I think, a really nice job of keeping our facilities fresh, recognizing that people come in from out of town. They're not just the same people locally coming in over and over again. We bring people in from all over the country, and they have high expectations. If they're making a decision about going to Las Vegas or coming to the Gulf Coast, we need to give them a top level, top notch experience. And so being in this market, has forced us to continue to reinvigorate the property across a number of different metrics, and we're never finished. But you mentioned it. Really proud to have just finished almost finished a major casino renovation. All new carpet, rearranged the entire slot floor, opened a new high limit area, expanded the casino footprint, added a non-smoking slot section.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to open 3 new food concepts and a poker room as well. So these are some needed amenities, things that our guests have wanted, and things that we're proud to be able to offer them.
I'm going to spend the whole next segment on that because Caesars is such a massive organization that, I remember you saying that it's the largest, I think, gaming organization.
Yeah, we have the most properties in the country.
That's
by a lot.
That people might say, well, what does that do for us? Well, it does a lot. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So we're going to take a short commercial break. We're talking with Jonathan Jones. We're talking about Harrah's. We're talking about Jonathan. Learn a little bit more about Southern Mississippi. So don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Jonathan Jones. And Jonathan, we were talking about, I guess, the size of Caesars. And, Caesar's Palace was always, when I was growing up, that was the place. Mm-hmm. And so, it was something almost mystical about it over in Las Vegas. You think of Las Vegas today, it's nothing like it was 30 years ago. It became this, I was stationed out there in the military. I mean, it was actually a small town, how spies, but now it's grown into a family type, place. And it's amazing to see the transformation. Well, the same thing goes here on the Gulf Coast. And I want to talk a little bit about Harrah's Caesars, the size of it and what it does for this community.
Yeah, so we're really proud to be part of Caesars Entertainment. And I mentioned the database. I mean, it's over 60 million people. That was, that's kind of the number that we used before mobile sports betting started everywhere. And so we have all these new members now. And, we're excited about where we are and our ability to invite folks from all over the country to come visit us here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And, having 55 properties across the country, these are cities that, many other places wouldn't know one customer that they could invite down, and right. We can fill a 183 seat plane, and we do that over 200 times a year. We bring people in from all over the country. And I remember one day I was looking at the schedule of flights arriving, and I asked the new hires every week when I greet them, who's heard of a town called Mosinee, Wisconsin? Right. I hadn't heard of it either when I saw it on the schedule. We put 183 qualified gaming guests on a plane out of Mosinee, Wisconsin.
Wow.
And think about coming down here in the winter from a place like Wisconsin or Illinois or Michigan. They come down and they're immediately shedding layers, and they're looking at the Gulf of Mexico. They're thinking about jumping in our heated pool. I mean, they have a great time when they come down.
Snowbirds.
Not to mention, snowbirds, but not to mention the Southern hospitality.
Right.
So you mix all that together, and it's a great destination for folks from all over the country to come visit. And our business at Harrah's Gulf Coast, we have over 80% of our guests come from outside of 100 miles. So we really do import a lot of business down. It's new business. It's incremental. And, if we fly them down once on a plane, more often than not, we have guests either saying, when are you going to fly us down again? Or when's the plane coming back?
Right.
Or help me get down there on my own, because they don't want to wait till the next time we fly out of Mosinee, Wisconsin. They figure it out and they come down.
Right.
And interestingly, we're starting to see a lot more people moving down here as well. That's something that I think statistics are showing. A lot of retirees and others are choosing this as their home. But But anyway, yeah, being part of Caesars Entertainment is great for us in that we can bring folks down and we give them a great experience, and they leave wanting to come back.
I'm not going to say I know where that town is in Wisconsin, but I was trying to envision in my head, are they all around Green Bay or something that they're, but you know, you see that, and when they come down, that's probably the busiest time of the year for golf courses down here. I always say that. You can't do tournaments around snowbird season.
No.
They block it off because they'll come down here, they're spending money, they're enjoying a vacation. Some of them, like you said, move down here. And our coast is just really the best is yet to come. I mean, the hard part's been accomplished. Now it's just, you know, like you said, let's carry this out for a couple years. Now you live in Ocean Springs. I say this all the time because I hear it back in the old days, you know, well, that's Harrison County. Well, there is no Harrison County. There's a very nice bridge that connects the two. And a lot of people live in Ocean Springs that work in gaming or live in different cities across Jackson County.
Moss Point,
it's a major employer across this entire Gulf Coast. And, you know, there are no divisions there, but it's incredible sometimes that mindset. That
look, I never have had that mindset. You know, my entire career with Caesars was marked with hour-long commutes. It was just by choice. You know, I lived in Las Vegas. I commuted an hour and a half to Laughlin. I lived in New Orleans, came over here to Biloxi. I lived in the city of St. Louis and commuted out to Maryland Heights. I lived in Louisville, Kentucky, commuted to Southern Indiana. When we moved here, we looked in Gulfport, we looked in Biloxi, we looked at 40 houses across Gulfport, Biloxi, Ocean Springs, and we ended up in the 40th one that we looked at, which happens to be in Ocean Springs, and we love it. It's been a great place to raise our children.
Oh, definitely.
You know, I have a 7 or 8 minute commute door to door, so can get home, can get to work quickly if needed. But they're all great communities, and like you said, there's no line there where the county is. You know, I've got coworkers of mine that live much further east than I do. We've got coworkers that live west all the way to Louisiana. But even when it comes to our guests, you know, I mentioned all these people that come in from all over the country. I want them to go to downtown Ocean Springs and check that out. I want them to go to Bay St. Louis and check that out. You know, I want them to go to our competitors and see other gaming options because they come away with a more well-rounded view of the destination that they visited. And I firmly believe that makes them much more intent to return when they have that view, as opposed to the old methodology of, you know, lock them in a casino and keep the windows closed and don't let them know what time it is and turn up the air. You know, we don't do that. Like, I want them to see where they're visiting and have a good impression of that.
I know some of the heads of, you know, some of the other gaming institutions, they love to go to Harrah's, they love to go to the Bow, they love to, you know, get out of their own space.
Absolutely, if I were allowed to gamble at Harrah's, I don't know that I would want one of my coworkers dealing to me or taking my bet at the sports book. So, yeah, I mean, you know, we go all over the place and we enjoy the restaurants, and, you know, I like to gamble myself. That's a fun thing to do, and you know, there's some great options around here.
Well, I know, you know, Ocean Springs, you couldn't pick a better town. We're getting a lot of accolades over there. And I've spent most of my, I guess, life over here on the Gulf Coast there. It really is a unique place we have here on the coast. And like you said, it's a hodgepodge of everything mixed together. I mean, you've got a great, you know, military institution that's sitting here that is continually bringing in people to gaming. This is not the Gulf Coast that I remember when I was a kid. We'd drive over here and there was a little deer ranch that I'd go pet deer right where the Bow is right now. But,
I mean, look, but you touched on it. I mean, you know, we're not finished. I mean, there's a long way to go. And, you know, I see people driving past here from Louisiana and Texas to go to places east of here, like Orange Beach and Destin and Sandestin and 30A. And, you know, so some of my attention is spent helping others understand that, you know, it can't just be about gaming. Like, I think we need a little bit more of a well-rounded entertainment offering for more folks to stop, you know, and get off I-10 and come down and visit us here. And I think most would agree with that. You know, there's some things that we could still have here that would make things better. I'm, you know, across the street from Margaritaville, and they've got their new rides and all that stuff. And I love seeing the activity over there. I think that's great. You know, it diversifies the entertainment economy a little bit. So there's more work to do, and I'm excited to be here and hopefully be a part of that.
Jonathan, I appreciate you coming on again. You know, nothing that you have said is things that I don't think about, and it's just refreshing to see somebody that, just like Ricky said, you got to meet this guy. It's just like you, and there's a lot of us out there that are working tirelessly to make this a better Gulf Coast, and appreciate you taking the time. I know the day doesn't end.
No.
Because it's the middle of the day and we've done a TV show,
No, it's
so
good.
it's back to work. Appreciate it.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate everybody's support of the Baco Foundation of South Mississippi. Until next time, this is Todd Trinchard saying so long and may God bless.